I'm balding. I didn't realize it, guys, but when I went like this, I could see more of it right there. It's like, dang.
He was like, I didn't see it. I'm like, I see it.
She sees it. It's like, I see all of her natural highlights, Welcome back to the channel. Today, in light of everything that's going on, sure you've heard about the leak from the Supreme Court about Roe versus Wade being overturned. There's a lot of emotions flying, a lot of different takes, some of them very horrible, flying all over social media and different things being expressed. And one of the things my wife and I have been discussing is the fact that a lot of these women that get pregnant and go have abortions, they always, it's like, oh, they're single, they're young, they're poor. I'm just sitting here saying, like, so the solution is to kill the baby? Why isn't the solution to educate these women and fix this other issues that you mentioned before? Because it's like, okay, so she's poor and she's single, and yet we have a society that has such a low view on marriage now. The statistics are overwhelmingly crazy out there. Every one of two marriages ends in divorce. I think it's much higher even now. Marriages failing like crazy. You have people on third, fourth, fifth marriages. And as people who obviously have a biblical worldview, one of the things that I think that we need to do in society is elevate that marriage is a beautiful and necessary component in having a family. The importance of society and its bedrock. Too many of society, too many of the youth, too many of our kids in society are living in broken homes, and homes in which, because of the way they're being raised, or because of not even being raised intentionally, but because of just their upbringing and the environment that they're at, they don't have a positive view of what marriage is. Maybe they're being raised up by a single mom who's bitter or angry and all men are terrible, or they see all of the repercussions of the feminist movements talking about we don't need no man and all this stuff, right? And I think we've done a poor job, especially those of us who are very pro-marriage, marriage between a man and a woman, to show that marriage is actually great, to educate people on the stability and the beauty and the positives that marriage brings. And I'm not saying that's gonna fix all of that. We always tend to focus on this last result of this unwanted pregnancy, and now this is the solution. And then this young girl has all of these other issues over here, but we don't focus on any of those. And not just the young girls, the young men who are complicit in these things. And I get it, there's outliers with this whole abortion issue of
birth defects
or incest and rape and different stuff like that. But let's be honest, statistics show the majority of these people that are getting abortions do not fall into those camps.
It's simply unplanned.
It's
and
just
inconvenient.
Unwanted, unplanned pregnancies. Because our channel, one of the things we like to focus on is marriage. So we're over here saying, like, why don't we do more of a better job of presenting the positives to marriage, making content, speaking positively on it. Like, I frankly get sick and tired of so many of these reels and TikToks that, I get it, they're supposed to be funny, but present marriage as if it's some burden, or, oh, my wife drives me crazy, or hey, you can take your child back now. And then it's like, oh, well, you married him, so he's yours. And where's the positive content? Where's the good information of the beauty of marriage and the benefits that it brings? My wife and I have been married now for 11 years. We'll hit our 12-year anniversary this December. Yeah, is it tough? Of course. Benefits, I have somebody that I can share my life with, that knows me so well, I can be vulnerable with, share struggles with, that we raise our children together, and that we've been through some tough things. We've been through 4 miscarriages. We've been through unemployment. We've been through
financial
hardships, different things like
losses, death and loss.
Yeah, grieving over loss, death in the family, stuff like that. Like, we've been that. And I didn't have to go through that alone, and she didn't have to go through that alone.
We did have to navigate those things alone, but also figure out how to do them together, because we were not necessarily given the example of how to properly handle our finances as a married couple, or how to properly parent our children together. So we've had to definitely work through.
We're both the products of growing up in godless, unbroken homes. We didn't have examples. I didn't have an example until my best friend's dad, whom I call Papa, when he came into my life at 16. That's the first time I saw a Hispanic, Latino male be present for his wife and his kids. That's when my idea of what marriage and being a father, and that started to change, because up until that I hadn't seen any of that. All of my examples were the man just goes and works and then comes home and drinks beer and ignores his wife and kids. Like, that was my example. And then I met him. He's the first one that started. It was a paradigm shift in my mind where I was like, oh, marriage is something, can actually be something different. As the gospel was shared with me by my best friend, and as the Lord started changing my mindset and my heart and everything, and as I started witnessing other things, I began to understand the importance of marriage that was first instituted by God in Genesis. He created a male and female, created them and joined them together. As a society, and then as a church and as individuals, we need to do a better job. And I'm not talking about presenting it as a fake, like everything's hunky-dory and perfect, but just placing value, showing the beauty of marriage, even with the hardship, because there's still beauty in the hardship and growing together. And frankly, just educating these kids, being an example and a light. And I think for some of you might be like, that's ridiculous. How would that solve anything? It would begin to, at least for some, cause a paradigm shift to understand these types of things are important in terms of bringing kids into this world, enjoying benefits that should only come within marriage.
Right. And I've come from a background. I mean, my own cousin, the cousin he speaks of, had to make sure that he shook my husband before marrying me and understood who he was marrying. And the reason I say that is because we talk about the feminist movement. Trust me, I was I fit into the description of what a feminist was. I'm thankful that the Lord, through marriage, has helped for me to shift my mindset. And it's not through persuasiveness or anything like that, but simply my husband stepping out of the way and letting God work on me as an individual to be a better wife for him, and also say, my goodness, I was very warped in my mentality and in my ideas, because I viewed what a woman was, I viewed what a man was and was not, based off of a worldview instead of what the Bible has to say about what a man and a woman and a marriage and children, what they are. The other thing is, I was a single mom. In the scenario of some of the reasons that you would choose to have an abortion, I fit those categories. But let me tell you, I'm glad God used that as a way to get my attention of the lifestyle that I was living. And I'm glad that through that ultimate surrender and choosing life of my son, it did lead me to repent of my lifestyle and believe in who God is and what he died for, which was life. So here we are today, fast forward. I would have never had the opportunity to be a wife to my husband, to this man specifically, had I continued on I continued on the lifestyle that I once lived. But I had to make a decision to turn away from that which was not fruitful. It's beautiful experiencing marriage and intimacy, which is ultimately what gets you pregnant. It's beautiful in the marriage bed, and it is God honoring when you have that freedom to say, oh my goodness, I'm pregnant. What are we going to do? And it's like, we're going to raise a child. It's as simple as that. Yes, it doesn't have to make sense on paper when it comes to do with monetary in the size of the home that you have or anything like. God honors the fact that you chose life for that child, and we want to encourage you. If you are in a predicament for whatever reason where you are entertaining the idea of abortion, or maybe you've had one before, we don't want that to consume you. We want to encourage you that we are here as individuals and also as a couple, encourage you to choose life. You can't go wrong with choosing life. You can't take back if you chose to terminate that child's life. If it means that potentially it saved one life that was inside of the womb, it was worth us sharing some of this vulnerable piece of our lives.
Now, I would just encourage you, if you find yourself a single parent, look for those good, godly examples of what a marriage is, to start showing your young child, giving them a good example of what a marriage looks like. Maybe you're not at a point because you're not married, but that's okay. There's examples out there. When I met Papa and Mama, I wasn't being raised by a single mom, and that's what God used to show me what an example of what a good marriage looked like. Was it perfect? No. I saw them get frustrated with each other and get mad at each other. Everything that comes with marriage. But man, it was the first time I saw that. It was like, oh, so this is how a husband and a wife communicate, and this is how a husband can be affectionate with his wife. This is how it was eye-opening to me. And as somebody who at that time did not know the Lord, was very bitter over my dad having left, it was the beginning of a healing process. I know that there are kids out there that are just yearning these examples. And instead of it it being these terrible celebrities and these terrible godless people. Let it be you. Find those around you that can be that for your child if you're a single parent. Just an encouragement. I'm not saying this is the end all be all answer. I'm just saying this is part of solution. Educating these kids on how it's supposed to be. The beauty of waiting until you find your spouse.
Fighting for your marriage.
Of the fact that it's a family unit. The family unit begins when that man and that woman say, I do. And then when you add other lives into it, the family grows. And that's how it's supposed to be. And that's how it thrives. And that's how society is better. We live in a society that is constantly attacking the nuclear family structure because that is how God determined that society should be built up. And this world hates God. We should be countering that as much as we possibly can. Locally, within the sphere of influence that God gave you, and beyond that in whatever capacity God gives you. That's my encouragement to you guys. We thank you for the support. We thank you for those that have been watching our videos. Appreciate it. Thank you.
God created marriage.
Marriage, sweet marriage. Marriage is what brings us together. Go ahead.
I don't like starting them.
Oh, she doesn't like starting. All right.